What's up, everybody? Welcome to GoJo with Mike Golick Jr. That is me. Not with me, as always, super producer Brandon Newman, who is off in Mexico marrying two of his good friends. We hope he's traveled safe. He will be back with us next week. Very excited to hear all about his travels there. Solo for this Friday. Well, not totally. We do have a great show for you guys today. As always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review GoJo wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. And check us out on the DraftKings YouTube channel. Very exciting. We get to go to the movies this Friday and talk to actor, writer, all-around great dude, O'Shea Jackson Jr., who is one of the stars of the movie debuting this weekend, Cocaine Bear. If you weren't aware of one of the internet's favorite recent film plots, the movie is a loose adaptation of the true story of an American black bear that ate a duffel bag full of cocaine in the wilderness in Tennessee back in the 80s. This movie certainly takes some creative liberties with how that went, but you get the idea. It took the internet by storm. O'Shea and a bunch of others hopped on board, and the rest will now be history. So we get to talk with him about what it was like finding out about this movie, how he got himself on board this project, what it was like working with the CGI bear on set, and really a lot about his career in general. For anyone unaware, O'Shea Jackson Jr. being the key word, the son of O'Shea Jackson Sr., Ice Cube, the rapper and actor. So we get to talk a lot about how he got his start playing his dad in his very first role in Straight Outta Compton, the movie that he actually thinks gave him the start in his career beyond just that one moment, what it's like growing up with a famous father, the way that he did, something he and I bonded over, albeit at very different levels, considering Ice Cube. Sorry, Dad, a lot more famous than you. And just about what his hopes are for what comes next now. It's really fun conversation. O'Shea's a really interesting guy. There might even be a story in there about a drunk DM once sent to Kobe Bryant. The moral of the story with this interview, kids, shoot your shot. It can work out pretty damn well. We will also do a mailbag today, some of your questions that we took on Twitter and Instagram. Excited to get to some of those as we finish the week off the right way. We also did have some football news, though, and I did want to get to that as we are on quarterback watch this offseason right now. As we've gotten into franchise tag mode leading up to March 7th, the start of the new league year, all our eyes are trained on some of the big veteran names in this conversation, mainly Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers. And yesterday, big news in the Aaron Rodgers world, as the veteran quarterback is now out of the darkness retreat that he'd been in for the 4 days prior to that. Aaron Rodgers had gone on McAfee and said he was going to go on a 4-day darkness retreat where he just sat in a room and meditated and lived in silence with himself. And this retreat took place at Sky Cave in Oregon. Scott Berman is the owner of the facility there who kind of guides people through all this. So a couple things on this. One, I have no idea what I think Aaron Rodgers is going to do at this point. I said a long time ago trying to predict this guy's next move, that never know, let him know your next move meme online. Aaron Rodgers personified. That being said, this feels like a story we've seen before with Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers seems fated to repeat the same thing that he didn't probably enjoy on the way into his career, because sometimes the NFL scriptwriters get a little bit lazy. So no clue if this means he's any closer or any further from getting back. I assume we'll hear him on Pat's show next week, and we'll get the full update on how everything went on this darkness retreat and what Aaron Rodgers found out about himself in there. I am interested in the actual retreat itself, because on the way in, Aaron Rodgers made the comment that, quote, I think we could all use a dose of turning our phones off once in a while and unplugging from society. Some people don't want to do a few days and nights of darkness, and that's fine. But to out and out judge it like you have any understanding of it, that's not exactly a way to come together as a society and connect better as people. Aaron, they're not judging the practice. They're judging you. Like, we don't need to rehash everything with Aaron Rodgers, but once 2020 happened, everything got a little bit different in the way that we all looked at Aaron Rodgers and his public persona, a guy that had always been one of the smartest guys in the room and relished in kind of reminding you that in a very not so subtle way in public. And for a long time had so many of us on his side because he was a great quarterback, and we didn't think that organization did enough to get him weapons. And then he did the public deceit around being immunized and then all of it took on a decidedly different tone. So how we talk about a lot of this stuff is tainted by the fact that people are kind of frustrated with Aaron Rodgers. Packers fans, and I think NFL folks in general are probably frustrated by a player that has recognized the power he has and used it constantly in a way that generally I find endearing. Again, because of all the off the field stuff with Aaron, that became a more complicated conversation. But before that, most of us were in on Aaron Rodgers flexing on the Packers because we're all in the media generally pretty pro player. So Aaron Rodgers taking time while the team is trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do at quarterback, if their veteran two-time, in the recent last 3 years, 2 MVPs quarterback is going to show up or not. And in general, I'm pretty open about, hey, players take time after the league, especially players who are contemplating retirement, because you only get one shot at this usually. Again, the Brett Favre method would indicate otherwise. But so Aaron Rodgers, they're not judging the practice. They're judging you and what you've said and done publicly for the last few years. That is what it is. I do want to get some of the practice, though. So Sky Cave, as we mentioned, is this place. It was described as a hobbit-like hut that existed partially below Earth. I believe, the room in which Aaron Rodgers spent his time is a partially underground hobbit-like structure with 300 square feet of space, devoid of light, and a queen bed, a bathroom, and a meditation-like mat on the floor. There's a whole article on ESPN.com that outlines pretty much everything he went through. And again, removing whatever you think of Aaron Rodgers from this, objectively kind of interesting. I do agree that as someone who is way too online, I could probably do to get away from this phone more often than I do. And the results of that would be pretty interesting. As someone who lives alone, sitting in silence with yourself, pretty daunting, but usually pretty fulfilling on the other side. My biggest question with this was about the food, obviously. Because at Sky Cave, there is no hard and fast rule about guests remaining in the dark. It's self-guided mostly. Everyone is invited to walk the woods if the need arises, turn on the lights if the feeling is too much, or just leave. And Scott Berman, the guy who owns it, checks on his guests once a day, more if needed, and offers little prompts to help them think and meditate. Those visits happen in the evening when he delivers a day's worth of meals through a two-way wooden door. It's the only time the guests get a sense of time or that 24 hours have passed. That's where I would struggle the most, because as someone who routinely buys groceries for it themselves, I live alone. The battle when I get home of not eating 25% of what I've just bought is one of the toughest I fight on a weekly basis. And so having to actually have the wherewithal to ration out your food in this environment where you're not exactly sure how much time has passed and you're not exactly sure, like, when I was trying to gain weight, you ate when the clock said, which was every 2 hours. That was the thing that told you when to eat. So without any of those signs, now you might have, if you go outside and walk the woods, the sun, but if you really stick to the darkness bit, I'm not really sure how you're supposed to ration that out. And for my fat ass, that would probably mean eating most of the food rationed to me within the first 3 hours tops. I would probably set the handicap at. And then being really, really hungry for the rest of the day and pissed off while I'm trying to think about the things that I need to think about. So that's honestly the question that if I could submit a question to the Pat McAfee show, it would be, how did you figure out when and how much to eat? That's the big question. At GoJo Show on Twitter, if you've got a good answer for that as well. So we'll see what happens with Aaron. That one is going to be confusing. Again, if we're going to believe the past is somewhat predictive, the Brett Favre method, him ending up in a Jets uniform would be objectively hilarious. Like we talked about the other day, since the Jets reportedly told Derek Carr that he could come there, win with them, and be a first ballot Hall of Famer. If he were to then come in and get swooped on by Aaron Rodgers, who would really just start parodying the whole Brett Favre thing and then lead us to all predict he'd inevitably play for the Vikings once they're done with Kirk Cousins, all would be really funny. Definitely root for funny. But bottom line is people are going to wait because he's good. And as angry as I think the Packers are and all these reports that they hear, if Aaron Rodgers wants to stay, I'd imagine they would have him still. Because if you're Green Bay, the only way that you're going to be relevant in the next couple of seasons, whether it's betting on Jordan Love or otherwise, if you go the alternative, but your best avenue towards being relevant, having a shot at winning and building off some of the growing pains you went through this year with a new receiver group and all that newness, is with Aaron Rodgers. That's, I think, the cold reality of this situation. The other situation we've been keeping track of, Lamar Jackson, Brandon's favorite quarterback of his favorite team, who is also in his own way gone on a silent retreat, said he wasn't going to talk about his contract extension once the 2022 season started. Jameson Hensley, the ESPN Ravens reporter, wrote an article kind of detailing exactly where we're at as we get forward, lurch towards what is probably the franchise tag. The Ravens had apparently offered Lamar Jackson a 5-year, $250 million deal in September that he turned down, $133 million guaranteed, obviously less than Deshaun Watson's fully guaranteed deal, but more than Russell Wilson, more than Kyler Murray, who got big deals last offseason. According to sources with knowledge of Jackson's contract situation, all of his counteroffers to the Ravens were for fully guaranteed contracts that exceeded Deshaun Watson's. I understand Brandon believes in the strength of that organization, but I just don't see where the Ravens have a ton of leverage unless they really don't believe in Guy and they're willing to restart everything that they've been a part of and everything that they've been trying to build since Lamar Jackson stepped on campus there. I think Lamar Jacksons are really hard to find. Forget just top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, but ones with his particular unique skill set that you've kind of built your whole identity around, really difficult to do. And so whatever happens with him is also, the Aaron Rodgers stuff I'd imagine is going to happen pretty quick also, but I think the stuff that happens with Lamar Jackson, because if you're the Ravens, I'd imagine you want to make a move one way or the other before the draft. If they franchise tag him, for anyone that's unaware, they've got till the middle of the summer to still try and negotiate a long-term contract. But if you're the Ravens and trading Lamar Jackson is on board, because Lamar Jackson does not seem like he's going to budge on the guaranteed money thing. And if the Ravens aren't going to give it to him, I'd imagine someone would probably step up to the plate on that. One of these quarterback needy teams that we've talked about, some members of the NFC South and others. And so Lamar Jackson's got no reason to budge. He's got the resume compared to the other quarterbacks that we've mentioned, including Deshaun Watson, who used leverage to help him get what he wanted in that situation, which is exactly what Lamar Jackson is doing now, albeit a less problematic kind of leverage. Lamar Jackson's got no reason to budge on that because this Ravens organization, I think, needs him more than he needs them at this juncture. Because on the other side, even if he's going to a worse team and a worse organization, he's getting the life-changing money and the security that comes with that all these players covet. And so looking at this, the Ravens, I think, have motivation to make a decision one way or another pretty soon because they want to get this done before the draft. Because I'd imagine if you're going to tag Lamar Jackson and then leave it up to the possibility of him being traded and going somewhere else, you're going to want all that to transpire before the draft so you can get whatever you're going to get in return and then potentially use that in the draft to reset your clock at quarterback and get one of those rookie deals that allows you to keep spending money at other positions like you did when you signed Roquan Smith, or try and get this deal done with Lamar Jackson so that your team in the offseason isn't going through all the offseason program with a new coordinator and Todd Monken and hopefully some revamped weapons to try and help develop the passing part of this offense without the quarterback that you do eventually want to be there. And so whatever happens with that, I think it'll happen quick. I don't think Lamar Jackson should budge. And the way this has been trending, it seems like that would mean that he would not be a Baltimore Raven this time next year. I'd love to see him stick there because I'd die to see him get to work with Todd Monken and see if we can actually start to unleash some of the Lamar Jackson, the passer we saw in his MVP season and when we saw in college. That all remains to be seen. So that is the latest that we've got from quarterback world in the NFL offseason. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to talk to actor, writer, all-around great dude, O'Shea Jackson Jr. about Cocaine Bear. How's it going?
Everything's good, man. Chilling. Just doing press for this crazy movie. Did Rich Eisen yesterday. Did the talk this morning. I'm just grinding, bro.
I've seen you everywhere, man. GMA, Kelly Clarkson, you've been all over the damn place.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's definitely this part of it can be, a little tiresome. It's just like on the body, catching flights, doing all that type of stuff, but it's part of it, man. You got to sell the movie too. And I do a pretty good job selling.
No, that's for damn sure. I mean, getting to walk in with Cocaine Bear as the product that you're peddling to, pretty decent sales job to be on the other side of for sure.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just weird having like daytime news and like daytime shows talk about cocaine so openly. It's just like I got Al Roker talking to me. So, cocaine bear, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're right.
It does. It's so different because I feel like because we're right about the same age, and I feel like growing up, all of that stuff in the middle of the day, it just didn't get touched. It was daytime soap operas and Sports Center. Like we didn't get to hear all that. So yeah, you leading the charge on that's like cussing in front of your grandparents for the first time. It just feels
exactly wrong. Yeah. It's that same feeling of yep, that's what I'm here for. When I did well, I was doing Kenobi, and I'm on there. It's Disney, Star Wars, and best job I ever had. And I'm kicking it with Ewan McGregor, and it's like in my mind, I'm like, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he's like, yeah. So Shay, what are you doing next? And I'm like, Cocaine Bear, and he's like, when Obi-Wan Kenobi looks at you and goes, oh, that sounds like fun. It's like, but yeah, everybody gets a kick out of that title, dude. And when they hear it's based on a true story, it's like, oh, dude, you have to do that movie.
Oh, hook, line, and sinker. Listen, as someone who now has to introduce themselves as a podcaster, I understand it feels a little strange to put some titles in front of people when you're bringing that out in public. It's like, no, I swear, like I don't live in my folks' basement. It's a paid gig now. We're good. No, man. So it is interesting too because now I feel like at this point we've seen pretty publicized tweeting this movie into existence, which, man, what a hero for all the rest of us who are staying on that hell site until its absolute dying day, that good things can come from Twitter. So you tweet about the movie. Elizabeth Banks, who's directing the movie, sees the tweet and you guys connect. So from seeing and reading about it on Twitter to when you first get that script in front of you, what was that first read through like when all of a sudden you see, all right, this is what Cocaine Bear's about to sound like?
I was happy that the bear is actually showcased as much as it is. It's like it's the elephant in the room. Like, people are you know what you're here to see. And we don't waste any time in getting right to it. And I love that. We don't I'm a fan of all type of creature movies, and part of just like creature movie etiquette is you kind of tease a little bit. When are we getting to Jaws, bro? Where's Jaws at? You told me Jaws was gonna be here. And right off the jump, you guys are in for a ride with Koki. She is a problem in every sense of the word. And the first time I saw it was at the premiere. So to see, what you read come to light is always fun. It's always, it always is a butterflies, goosebumps type feeling. And so, man, it's exactly what I read. All right.
It's like, no, this bear is on a shit ton of cocaine. Yes, check.
Yeah,
check.
100%.
What, like, because I saw how you guys filmed it too, so it's obviously a CGI bear, and spoiler alert for everybody, not a real bear hopped up on cocaine, but you guys had a dude on set who basically had to play the part of the bear. So how is it interacting with this guy that is supposed to be on a cocaine-fueled murder rage when he's not actually a bear?
Yeah, it's a big New Zealand dude it's a big New Zealand dude named Alan Henry, who's from Planet of the Apes. He did Lord of the Rings work, so he gets in it. He's the real deal. Super cool dude. I really love laughing with people off camera. Great sense of humor. I feel like great morale makes great movies. So you're going to be with somebody for 2-3 months. You want to get along, And Allen was just so cool. But at the same time, it's this big ass dude in black spandex coming at you. It's some fear in your heart. It's gonna be there. And they had him on these like stilts for him to crawl on all fours, which is great for the lower back. But he's crawling on all fours all day, and he has this like apparatus where like we would see the bear's snout and its eyes. So they use that for like mapping out on the computer, and just so they can measure the mass of a real bear. But it's cool. It's cool to have that. It's cool to have some the closest thing to a practical effect as we can have, because and stuff like King of the Monsters, nothing is there. I remember that was the worst part. Is as a Godzilla fan, I was so excited to be in King of the Monsters, and I remember my first day driving the set thinking, I'm never going to see Godzilla, like the entire time. Like I'm going to have to wait a year and a half before I even see a rendering of Godzilla. This is just going to be a bunch of people playing pretend for money. That's all this is about to be right now. And so, like, the Star Wars thing, we had at least a practical set. Obviously we worked in the volume when we could, but like, some of those creatures in Star Wars are actually there. Like I see them, like they're moving. Like, so it's great when you can work with practical effects. The closest thing we could get to a black bear in Ireland was Alan Henry. Love that dude. He's a beast, literally and figuratively.
Just to be clear, Alan Henry didn't go full method acting and actually eat a bag of cocaine.
I can't speak on his personal life, but he seemed legit. He seemed okay. He held a conversation real smooth. But no, yeah, super professional dude. Yeah, if you've seen Planet of the Apes, a couple of ogres or orcs, I mean, in Lord of the Rings, that's probably Alan.
Damn. All right. I say high stakes acting in some big roles there, no doubt. For anyone that's kind of into these genres of film, I do want to talk about your other co-stars on this film, because it seemed like, and especially watching you guys do the press tour with Alden, with Carrie, it seemed like you guys all got along really well. Alden Ehrenreich, Carrie Russell, your co-stars in this film. You mentioned having to work with the bear, but what is it like with them on set? What was it like working with them for what I'd imagine was the first time for you guys?
Yeah. Alden's the shit. Me and him, we got along very well just from the jump. Super cool dude. Really takes his job seriously. He's one of the people that I've worked with that is, as far as in the field, the dude is inspiring to me. He takes his job so seriously. He watches all forms of acting. If he can, he'll run out to a play, to just see performances. And he's a book reader. That's weird, but like he's a cool dude. I get on him for that all the time. Damn book reader. But yeah, me and him clicked. Who we play in the movie, David and Eddie, we are two best friends who kind of had a falling out. His father is actually played by Ray Liotta, and we worked for him. So it's we're going through our own personal battle. We have a mini movie inside the movie, and so if you want to, like I said before, you want to get along with who you're working with, and it comes off on screen when you guys have that type of chemistry. Yeah, all that's the shit. Carrie Russell, that was just cool to work with Carrie Russell. I was like, she's just super nice. Elizabeth is super nice. But yeah, it was a great time. Funny story about me and Alden. I auditioned for the Han Solo movie to be Lando Calrissian, and that was the first time I met Alden. And actually, the guys who produced Cocaine Bear were the original directors for the Solo movie, so they were in the room when I was auditioning, and I didn't get the part, and I didn't watch that movie. I didn't watch that piece of shit. I don't care. And I was bitter. I'm still bitter. I'm still salty, but I got into Star Wars anyway. So Nana Boo Boo, stick your head in doo doo. I got to be Roken, and yeah, I let them know about themselves. And timeline wise, Roken could run into Han Solo, and I'm gonna tell him about himself then too. So there's that. I
Hey,
work with him
listen,
anyway.
man. You gotta have that edge to you about this stuff. So I always felt like kindred spirits here, but this just confirmed it because I remember when I was going through all these NFL training camps and no one
Yeah,
signed me. I grew up an Eagles fan, but after I
yeah,
went through and they were one of the teams that either didn't sign or cut me, I said, all
yeah.
right, bleep you guys. I'm team agnostic now. I'll root for my friends that are playing here, but none of the rest of y'all get this full time anymore because this was bullshit. So I absolutely support being that petty when it comes to people that mess around and don't give you the job that you deserve. I feel that.
Exactly. And I was so sure of that audition too. They called me back like 3 times. I was like, oh, I got this in the bag. And yeah, so I'm petty. I don't care. I'm Petty Murphy. I'm Petty Roosevelt. I'm Petty Guerrero. I don't care, bro. They can have
You know what?
it.
And we'll follow you on to that one. I haven't seen that one and now won't officially boycotting it. Anyone listening to this podcast, we're boycotting this for O'Shea and making sure until justice is served, we're not going to see that.
So, at the premiere yesterday, or the day before, I hugged Alden. I said, hey, man, I want you to know I love you and I'll watch Solo. And he said, you don't have to. And I said, I'm going to do it, dude.
I waited all this time, but this is when I show you how real this bond is. Oh my
Yeah, man,
God.
we in there, bro. That's my brother.
That's awesome, man. How was the premiere, by the way? How was getting to see the finished product, getting to see other people see the finished product? That had to be pretty damn cool. I'd imagine those are always really gratifying.
Yeah, they're a little nerve wracking. Because everybody else watches movies before the premiere. Like they have either a screening or somebody sends it to them. But I like it the old school way. I like to watch with the crowd first time, have those butterflies. So yeah, it was my first time seeing it with everybody else. And it was some moments in there where I was like, I cannot believe we are getting away with this. And like this is like Universal Studios. Like it's nuts. And yeah, it was a great time. Had my brothers there. My sister-in-law was there. My girlfriend came, obviously, because like she doesn't want to have an argument if she didn't come. And then I was super supportive. Everybody came out for me. I had my best friend. I invited CM Punk. CM Punk came.
Damn.
Like, I know.
Wait, to be clear, do you like know CM Punk like that, or was that just like, hey, I got tickets for you if you want?
Yeah, like we connected probably maybe almost 2 years ago just on Twitter. And he was like, he told me he was, big fan of me, big fan of my dad. And I was like, let's just exchange numbers just in case like there's an Ice Cube show or something down the road. I can hook you up. And, it's hard not to talk wrestling when you got CM Punk's number every now and then. But yeah, my man Phil, he hit me up. He was like, dude, you're in Cocaine Bear? And I was like, yeah, the premiere is like in 3 days. He was like, oh man, that's so cool. And I was like, no, I'm gonna write you down. I'm gonna get you a +1. And he was like, oh, you don't have to do that, dude. I don't want to, he was just like, he's super humble about it. He was like, no, I'm not trying to, that's not why I hit you for it. And I was like, bro, listen, we're boys. You can come see it. It was whatever. And I gave him the invitation. You never know. Then I go to say hi to my brother. CM Punk is sitting next to my best friend. I'm like, yo, thank you for coming. He was like, you invited me. I was like, that's true too.
Man, the whole Cocaine Bear experience for you is just a prime example of shoot or shoot. Like you shoot your shot and good things happen.
Exactly, bro. Shout out to Phil Brooks, man.
That's incredible. All right, you know what? That's also good to know too, because with DraftKings connection, WrestleMania is coming up in LA pretty soon here. I actually might be going. It'd be my first time being at a wrestling event, so I need some pointers. So I might lean on you. I don't know if you're going. I don't know like what, but I need someone to show me the ropes here.
Listen, man, I will be there. I will be at SoFi. I love going to wrestling events, dude. Like since I was a kid, I've been to. This will be my third WrestleMania. I went to the one in LA. I think it was 22. I went to 22 or 21 in LA, and then I went to 32 in Dallas. The one, real quick, in Dallas, I had like, this is like Straight Outta Compton had just came out, and I'm feeling good. I got my first like check as a working man, and it's like I had the ultimate guys weekend. I went with my boys. I flew, I flew them out. I was like, bro, we're going to Texas, and we're about to light Texas up. Saturday, we were in Houston. We went to the Villanova versus UNC national championship. Yeah,
Oh
right.
shit.
Oh, that ended on that buzzer beater. It was insane. And then the next day we went to Dallas to go to WrestleMania 32. I haven't had that much fun in a weekend, bro, ever. And yeah, it was great. Yeah, that was my second WrestleMania. It was in Dallas. Stone Cold and Heartbreak Kid came out. They're Texas boys, so the Jerry World was going crazy. But yeah, there's nothing like a rowdy wrestling crowd, dude. It's just like the awesome and just ridiculousness of pro wrestling with a bunch of people who are just rowdy as hell. It can't get any better. My agent, well, one of my agents, Brad Slater, he's the Rock's agent, so I've been getting in for free, bro. I need to get. Yeah, you got that hookup right there. Shout out to the WWE. Hit your boy up because man, it is an experience that I think everybody needs to have, dude.
All right, there we go. I'm about to hit you like CM Punk before WrestleMania and be like, "Hey man, like hope I see you there. Let's link up, and then we'll let the rest be history on that one." All right, that'll be cool, man. You did mention, and I did want to hit on this some because Straight Outta Compton came out right when I was getting started at ESPN, and I remember that was one of the first around the time that you and I started interacting on Twitter a little bit. And it was that joke, which you said to me when I reached out to you for this, like, "Hey man, Junior's got to stick together." Like,
gotta stick together, bro.
Well, it's watching what you've gone through since that moment and watching your career develop has been so cool because you really have carved out this incredible space of your own in the industry. And I saw you on Kelly Clarkson, I think, talking about that whole Nepo baby thing that's been real popular. And I know I've had to answer that question for a long time. And I heard your answer for that I thought was really, really poignant about, hey, listen, I'm honoring the work that my dad put in to get here and to get a place where the door could be open for me, but I still had to walk through all this. I'm curious for you because I know it took me a long time sitting at ESPN in the same building where dad's still at, knowing, hey, that's how I got my start. It took me a long time to kind of personally reconcile that in that same way to where that's kind of been my answer. When did you come to that realization for yourself that, hey, this might be how I get an opportunity, but I still control the rest of what happens here, and I'm thankful for that?
I kind of ran before I got to I would say before I got to right before I got to college. I kind of ran from that because growing up as a kid who you're taught so early not to trust people like in my shoes, you're taught so early that like people want to be your friend because of what they think that they can get from being your friend. And like, I wouldn't wish that on a kid's mind anywhere. And so like I for a long time, like for the majority part of my life, I kind of moved any kind of way I could without people finding out. Whether that was not having uh people over to the house or like taking people to Laker games when I know my dad's not going to be there. Just like things that like now I look at as ridiculous, but it was a moment when my dad took me on tour. My dad took me on tour to work as crew, and as me and my brother, we had a song with him and also worked as his hype man for a little bit when I turned 18. And we were in Australia, and this dude in the crowd, after the show is over, me and my brother are out there breaking down the stage and, just like talking to like fans or whatever. And this guy came up to me and he was like, "Dude, your dad changed my life. Your dad, I used to, be heavy into drugs. I was out on the street. I was doing, just the grimiest things. And your dad, listening to his music, helped me become a doctor." And I'm like,
Wow.
like in my mind, I'm like, my dad probably wrote that shit in the kitchen, not even like, like thinking the magnitude in like whatever you were listening to changed your life to the point where you got off the streets and became a doctor, and then that right there is when I really got it. I got what my dad means to people. And it's just something that your art can do to just inspire. And so like after that, I kind of I got it. It wasn't just that my dad's on TV. It's not just that my dad does concerts. It's just he does something to people, and I love that. It made me realize how lucky I am to get lessons from this guy, to you know, even get yelled at by this guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's that he loves me. And so it was just like after then, I was just like, bump that. And once I once I realized that I was going to have a career in the same footsteps as him, I was gonna have a hard time getting out of the shadow, no matter what. Because not only do I look like him, got the same name, but literally my first job is playing him. Like, it's, and so like I stopped. If I looked at it as a shadow, it would I end up killing myself trying to work out of that. And so I stopped looking at it as a mountain to climb or shoes to fill or a shadow to get out of, and looked at it as, listen, I have to make sure the name O'Shea Jackson goes decades past where either of us are. And he's passing me a torch. He's having me help build an empire. He's helping, this is what it is. It is not getting out of anything. It is adding to a legacy. And that is what made me just like, bro, you damn right. Like, absolutely. And I'm not going to tarnish the name that we share. I refuse. The heaviest two letters in the alphabet next to each other are JR. You put those two next to each other, bro. It is a weight that people just don't get. And like it weighs more when you care more, when you give a damn about it, when it means something to you, it becomes heavier. And it's just like it's gonna make or break you. And I refuse to be broken because he went through way more than I had to, and he's not broken.
It's amazing, man. That's such a healthy view of it, and you're right in that it being grounded in pride in what your dad has done. I think is the thing that I always enjoy explaining to people most. So it's great to hear that echoed, and great to hear your experience is similar. Like you saw firsthand what that did, and it only fueled you more. And clearly, like
Yeah.
that's all worked. And from there, once you got that feeling of security, you mentioned the first role was playing your dad. What made you want to get into acting to begin with? Was it watching him do it? Was it being around and kind of seeing all the parts? What was the gateway for you?
I went into I was homeschooled probably I was homeschooled from 7th to 11th grade, okay? So I'm already, just like I was talking prior, I'm kind of already alienated from regular schooling in general, but I had these two teachers. And these two teachers, Hernan Del Alde, I love you. Rochelle Nondorf, I love you. They showed me that I was good at writing. Most people in the world don't know what they're good at because it comes so easy to them. They think that they can't make money off of it. They think that like making a job or making a career is supposed to be something hard for you to do, but it really is just what you're good at. And chances are your talent you're not even paying attention to because it just comes so easy to you. You don't even look at it. And I had a teacher, Hernan, he told me one day, because I was a daydreamer, bro. I daydream. I just what it is. And he said, he put a notebook in front of me and he said, write down what you're thinking about because you're not thinking about what I'm talking about. I was like, all right. So I just started writing, and I had this idea for this story, and I hand wrote 120-page story. And like he was like, have you ever thought of turning this stuff into like a movie script or anything? And I was like, nope. And he was like, that's literally what your dad does. And I'm like, oh, all right. So then I got a teacher, Bill Rubenstein, who taught me how to break things down into scripts. And my teacher, Rochelle, got me a notebook. And on that notebook, it said, go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life that you've imagined. That is a quote from Henry David Thoreau. And I ran with that quote forever. And I was going to USC as a screenwriter. Like, this is what I was going to do. And in the middle of my second year, I'm in the kitchen probably watching ESPN. And my dad comes and goes, hey, man, so they're taking this NWA movie serious. I'm like, oh, man, that's dope, Dad. He's like, no. Listen, in a perfect world, I will want you to play me. Oh, okay. All right. What do I have to do? He said, well, you're going to audition. I said, please make me audition because do not make me make a fool of myself. I had no aspirations or like anything to get into acting, but like I've been around sets my whole life. I know what, I get the concept. And so, yeah, that was just the move. And I convinced him to let me leave school if I do this. He was like, only if you make it work. And I was like, all right, I'll make it work. I got my teacher, Aaron Spicer, my acting coach, and we worked for 2 years straight of getting prepared for Straight Outta Compton until they said yes. The director, the director Gary Gray, when my dad says, "Hey, I want my son to play me," goes, "Cube, is this a joke?"
Wow.
God damn. And so, when I auditioned for the first time, Gary saw something and he was like, all right, and that's how I got hooked up with Aaron. Gary gave me Aaron Spicer, my coach, and he just saw me get there until there was no way the studio or him could say no. And I got it. And from there, in those 2 years, me waiting to get that role, I left during my second year of college. So I'm watching my friends graduate on Instagram, and it killed me. And it was like, dude, if I don't make this work, I'm an idiot. I look like an idiot. So, like, we have no plan B. We have nowhere to go. Like, it is what it is, dude. This has to happen. And so from there, it was just like I had to take it. I had to make it work. After Straight Outta Compton, I didn't get work for a year because everybody was talking like, of course he could play his dad. He's been studying him for over 20 years. So it was all that talk throughout Hollywood, and nobody gave me a shot in anything serious. Like the scripts I was getting, I was just I being at USC taught me how to pick apart a script, and I know when it's some trash, bro. So I was not trying to go. And so I had to really take my career into my hands, and I went the indie route for my second movie. And my pops was like, bro, like you just had the number one movie for 3 weeks, and it was nominated for an Oscar. you don't have to go indie. And I was like, listen, just trust me. Just let me do what I do. And Ingrid Goes West was the next one. And that's the indie. And that got me into Sundance. And when it got me into Sundance, Variety had me as one of the top 10 at Sundance. And that got people to look like, okay, he knows what he's doing.
Man, that's wild, because I remember when that came out. I'm a huge Aubrey Plaza fan, and I remember being a fan of you. So seeing that movie, it was incredible. But I guess no one would ever think that, like, yeah, coming off the success of Straight Outta Compton, that's the movie that actually kind of puts you in position to now go on. And then after that, Den of Thieves, Long Shot, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
I said, you were the best friend that everybody needs in their life in that movie. And then Godzilla King of Monsters. Wow. So all from going the indie route there, and just a risk that you knew you had to take.
Yeah. And I am for like Matt Spicer, the director, and Aubrey. Like I'm so thankful. I don't even think they really get how, like, what a part of my heart Ingrid Goes West is, because Straight Outta Compton, once again, that got me in the door. But Ingrid Goes West kind of made a different crowd pay attention to me, where people were like, oh, okay, he's really taking it serious. This is what he wants to do. And like, it's those like risks like that I mentioned on the Kelly Clarkson show that Kobe told me something. And I only had one phone call conversation with Kobe. If people don't know the story, one night I was super drunk in my apartment, and I felt kind of stale in my career. And I was like, you know what? Kobe follows me. I'm a DM Kobe. Super drunk. I'm like, I'm a DM Kobe. I'm going to ask my hero for help. And so I still got it to this day. But I asked him, I was like, bro, is there any quotes, any movies, any books, anything that you use to kind of fuel your fire to keep you going? You accomplish so much. How do you keep yourself going up? And he sent me his number. And so, like, for days, I'm waiting for Kobe to text me, like, oh my God. And yeah, he finally called me, and he called me, and we talked for 25 minutes. And in that conversation, he said, I told him about, how I kind of felt stagnant at the time. And he was like, you got to take risks. And he was in the same position as me, as going in his father's footsteps. And he was like, dude, you have to know that your parents are never going to want you to go through anything. They're never going to want you to take bumps. They're never going to want you to like fall, but it's the only way sometimes, And I know I'm sure junior to junior, those type of situations happen. Like there were times where on Den of Thieves, they wouldn't use me. Like they'd get me at work, and like I'll be at work for like 11 hours, and they were like, sorry, Shay, we didn't get to you today. And I called my dad, and I was like, is that normal? He was like, no, just leave. I'm like, what you mean just leave? I'm like, bro, just leave. That's what I would do. Yeah, Dad, but like you're you. And like, I had to tell him, like, Dad, you don't know what it's like to be your son. Okay? I gotta do shit a certain way. I gotta move a certain way, because they already have this ideology of what I'm gonna act like. And I gotta show them that I'm here for the grind. I can't be disrespected, but at the same time, I can't be this entitled prick who's like, yo, yeah, I'm going to LA. It's just not, it's certain battles, And so yeah, it's really a give and take thing, man. But luckily, taking those risks, making sure I tell my team that, make sure that every role is different from the last. I jump genres, bro. I jump genres real nice, and it's so they can't box me in. They cannot tell me what I can't do, and it makes it hard for them to place me in a box.
It really is. Looking through your filmography, looking through the TV shows you've been a part of, it is all over the map. So that shows up and is awesome to know that that's a concerted effort for you. I mean, I don't want to take away from you basking in the glow of Cocaine Bear right now. It's well earned. It's well deserved. Everybody's going to have a great time going to see it. But is there, like you mentioned, you're a daydreamer. Is there something that you've got a dream in your head of, all right, as I'm going around and I'm showing people all these different things I can do, is there something you've got coming up where you're like, man, I really want to do this. This would be the next step that for me would be exactly what I've been looking for and daydreaming about?
I want to get back into writing and just get my producer creds up. I got a 5-year-old. I got my baby girl is going into school now, and I just can't. I love acting. I love what I'm doing. It's such a fun job, but I just can't. If I do 2 projects in a year, and it's rare for anything to film in LA, that's 5 to 6 months out the year. And I just can't be away from home while my baby girl is going through this stage of her life, going into the outside world now. It was different when I know she's just at the house, like just kicking it with her grandparents all day. Like it's different now. And I want to be home to make sure she feels her dad so she can feel me there. And so I've been really focused on putting together my own projects to kind of have seeds planted out there, and have checks coming in that don't take me away from home. Right now, I think the number one thing right now is I've been working with my writing partner, Chris Mir Jahangir, for the last 5 years on a Godzilla anime.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like, it takes elements of King of the Monsters, and we add on to it, and we bring Godzilla kind of to obviously Godzilla is already on a giant scale, but the way that we bring in the human aspect, we don't think that we've seen in a show before. It's something that me and him discussed while I was on the set of King of the Monsters, of what we felt like as Godzilla fans we never got to see. And when you deal with anime, you kind of have more to play with. Like there's just certain things that you can do in anime that, first of all, less expensive than to do in live action. But like, it's just, those who follow the anime lifestyle, it's just you're instantly believing whatever you get put in front of. And it's a real passion project. And when you've been working on something for 5 years, it's your baby. And we have a multi-season plan. I'm about to start shopping it around. I've been getting buzz on the internet from it. I wore our logo on the James Corden show and on the Today Show, and like we have no deal yet. We just put it out there because we want to get these suits. We got to shake it up a little bit. We're not here to politic and pussyfoot around. We want to get this done, and the fan support has been so great. So that's my number one thing. Number two, I've got about three movies that I'm going around pitching. One is based around the Globetrotters. I can't go into full detail, but I got some funny stuff lined up, man. So I want to get back into the creative side of it. Obviously, those roles that you can't say no to, I'm always going to go back to. We're getting ready for Gin and Thieves 2. I leave to film that in about a month. So obviously, that's my first franchise. So, whenever that phone rings, I gotta pick that up. I gotta Tom Cruise this thing. And obviously Swagger. Whenever Swagger calls, I go back to that.
That's awesome, man. Well, listen, you got a fan rooting for G Team and all that to take off. As a fellow anime guy here, I'm rooting hard for this now. And just for you in general, man, it's awesome to see you succeeding as much as you have. It's awesome to hear about all that stuff that you got coming down the pipeline. Everybody, make sure you check out Cocaine Bear this weekend. It is going to be an absolute roller coaster ride. I'm excited to check it out. I can't wait. O'Shea, appreciate the time, man. Thank you so much.
Of course, man. Junior to junior, bro. Whenever you need me, just hit me.
There it is, man. Juniors got to take care of each other. Amen.
Yeah, man.
All right, let's get to some mailbag questions here at Mike Golick Jr. at GoJo Show on Twitter. is where you can get at us. These are kind of all over the place. Just wanted to hear from you on a Friday. This first one comes in from Thick Six Citizen. Man, playing for the home team. Respect. What was the O-line card game of choice during camp? I'm hoping it was Euchre. It was actually a game called Sevens. I don't remember the rules of it, but I remember we played it religiously. We didn't play for money or anything, but it took up all of our time, especially my first couple years there when I was a freshman and a redshirt freshman. That got us through training camp, as did the song Never Would Have Made It by Marvin Sapp. Those were staples. And I think I told this story on the podcast not too long ago, but my sophomore year, we had dubbed our section of the locker room. So our locker room had one big main street and then sections that went off, 6 of them, bands off that main street. You were organized some years by position, some years it was just numerically, and that year it was numerical. So we had a mix of offensive, defensive guys, whatever. But our section decided we were going to call ourselves the VIP Lounge. We put up a big sheet that had it on there. We sectioned it off, and we were kind of assholes about other people coming in our section. We had great music. One of the linebackers in our group, Torian Smith, had stockpiled like a whole bunker's worth of Gatorades. We were the plug. And towards the end of camp, as sort of a bone for us, our football ops staff actually put together a night where they turned our locker room into the VIP club. Lights, no alcoholic drinks, but something besides Gatorade for a while. And just a really good time. So those are the little things you always miss, man. Sitting around in the middle of 2 days, watching Maury Povich together, watching these people stunt when they're not the father. Like every TV in the locker room trained on that same thing where those were some of the good days amidst the hell of going out for a second round of stretch lines in the afternoon, which I will always maintain. The stretch before the second practice of 2-a-days was always the actual worst part of that practice. Clint Harms tweets in, is stopping and doing conditioning in the middle of practice the best threat a coach has in his pocket when things aren't going well? I would say probably in like high school. I would always leave this to coaches who know better kind of the psychology of what you're trying to get out of practice. But in general, it's a cut off your nose to spite your face thing. It's got to be going really bad. And in high school, you know, the players, especially, you know, where I came from in Connecticut, aren't that good. And so what you're getting out of each practice is kind of marginal. So if you're fine nuking the rest of practice to make a point, that can happen. Usually our coaches waited till the end. My freshman year, I was going and doing practice with the JV team and then would go to practice with the varsity team after. And one day I got up there and in the middle of their practice, they were getting in trouble for something they had done fucking around in study hall and had to do 120 up downs. And I got there right as that was going on. And I looked at the coach. I was like, do I have to get in on this too? A study hall I was not in. And they said yes. So now I had just completed one practice, had to do 120 up downs, and then go finish the rest of this practice. Needless to say, I wasn't worth shit after that. And most of the players that you do this to wouldn't be worth a damn after. So if you're comfortable nuking practice, in college, so many of the practices now are so short and hyper-focused that would really just be wasting your own time as a coach. Time is too precious now that there's still limits that the NCAA imposes. So you can't do that stuff. Playing time is how you really get to people. Take away the helmet, take away their ability to go out there and do the thing they love to do that creates the opportunities for them elsewhere. Playing time is how you get to people. And in the NFL, it's just money. They'll just fine you when you do dumb shit. So it gets easier the higher up you go. Mike Minnick says, any guest from any walk of life currently living, who you getting? I've said since day one, I want T-Pain on this podcast. I've listened to a lot of his podcast over at Nappy Boy Radio. Obviously grew up when T-Pain was at the height of his auto-tune career. He's got one of my favorite Tiny Desk concerts ever, a legitimately beautiful voice, and just seems like a really funny dude. And he rhymed mansion in Wisconsin. And I didn't appreciate the shit that Usher said about him ruining music with auto-tune. I will always stand with T-Pain in that fight. So him or Jon Stewart from The Daily Show. He is one of my biggest regrets from ESPN. He went on Mike and Mike. He was a part of the Invictus Games. and was there promoting that. And I thought when I was reading the rundown on the show that I did leading into Mike and Mike, First and Last, from 4 to 6 a.m., I read the rundown every day for people. I was supposed to be the segue into Mike and Mike. And I thought, I was arguing with my producer on air, like, no, that has to be Jonathan Stewart, the Panthers running back at the time. Why would John Stewart be there? Oh, how wrong I was. Flanner Jim Rat tweets in, AMA means against medical advice in a hospital setting. What's the most against medical advice activity that you engage in regularly? I mean, for the longest time, it was probably football, but I'd say at this point, the rampant binge drinking that I did in college, that probably was against medical advice. Some other substances that I put in my body at the time that you could smoke maybe weren't as great, but yeah, in general, I'd probably say it's the drinking. Like, the further and further I go along, as someone who now wears this Aura ring all the time and gets the ad still on my phone. I bought it, guys. Leave me alone. Or sponsor the podcast. That I always see really affecting the sleep number. So maybe that. Which food, this is from Matthew OB, which food could you confidently win in an eating challenge? So I beat my dad in a bacon eating contest. We went speed for a pound of bacon on Mike and Mike one of the years right before it ended. And I dusted the old man. I mean, absolutely rocked his world. But the most humbled I've ever been, like I always said, ice cream would be the one for me. Ice cream or French fries, I could eat on a loop in perpetuity until I died. I have different stomachs for those, and it just allows me to consume them in endless quantities. I truly believe that. Ice cream, the only thing you've got to worry about is the brain freeze. But getting to be around professional eaters the way I did my last couple years at ESPN, I got to call the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest in 2020 and 2021. And getting to be around Joey Chestnut, Nick Weary, Mickey Sudo on the female eater side, you learn what an actual sport it is because of the time and preparation these people put in. And I'll never forget, before the national championship at the LSU won in 2019, I got to go and be a part of a competitive eating exhibition against Joey Chestnut. We were eating Benghays on a boat before the game. And I'll never forget, they were about the size of your fist. And I was really proud. We had 4 minutes. I ate 14 of them. I felt like I could defend my family's name with that number and that effort. Joey ate 74 in 4 minutes. It is the single most impressive athletic feat to this day that I have ever seen. And so anytime people try and act like that is not a sport, that is why I am always willing to push back on that, because what I saw was a sport. That was like getting dropped onto the highway in the middle of a high-speed chase. Everything flying by you, terrified. This question came from Instagram, and I thought was really interesting. Tyler Hedges, Anthony Richardson odds to go first overall in the draft are skyrocketing. Do you think a team will take that shot? It has been interesting. The last couple of weeks, the Anthony Richardson conversation has come online, and everyone started to look back, because I was guilty of this too. I called their first game. I called Florida's game against Utah at the beginning of the season. And in that game, Anthony Richardson went off. He had one of the most impressive plays of the season, a 360 pump fake of a pass before he hit his receiver in the back of the end zone with a dart. And I thought he was going to win the Heisman. We all did. And then Florida went on to have a really uneven year in year one under Billy Napier. And Anthony Richardson's been known for the gifts, and people saw the big runs that he would occasionally rip off. But as everyone, myself included, is going back and actually watching the other games and not just the box scores and highlights, he's closer than you think. Like, it's not, there's definitely some raw to him, right? From what I've seen, I've watched 3 or 4 games back so far. Most every ball comes out going 1,000 miles an hour. There's not a ton of touch right now. Ironically, from what most people would think, given toolsy is kind of the label that gets put on him, throwing on the run outside of the pocket, especially on designed rollouts, is one of the areas I've seen him be most inconsistent. But navigates the pocket really well, plays with a great base, is pretty fearless and poised in the pocket when it comes to taking hits, which is what happens when you're built like an armored car, the way he is, and throws a really nice deep ball. You're never going to outrun him on the deep ball. And a lot of those things show up more consistently. And so we've seen plenty of people realizing, oh, his play in the pocket, pretty good. Like at this point right now, what I would say about the quarterbacks is I'm still studying a lot of these guys, working through them, is at this point, I think you can make arguments for 3 quarterbacks, like arguments that someone could take a chance on them at number 1, and they're Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Anthony Richardson. I think those are the 3 that you could concoct an argument in your head and say, I could see why someone would take them number 1 overall. The rest of these guys, there's other conversations to be had, but I think right now that's where I would be at with those 3. Here we go. Christopher Rodriguez, what Hogwarts houses are you, Brandon, Katie, and Charlotte in, and why? I'd say Gryffindor for me because I'm unoriginal, and it just seems like I would try really hard to do the Harry Potter thing and get in the house that's supposed to be the goody two-shoes. I'm a firstborn child that comes with the territory. Brandon, big Ravenclaw energy, Baltimore Ravens colors. Funny, a little bit off the beaten path, very unique. That seems like big Ravenclaw energy. Charlotte, I could see being a Hufflepuff, bright, bubbly, ton of fun to be around. Wilder Wednesdays are so fun. Everyone generally likes the Hufflepuff crowd, so I could see that for Charlotte, or I could see some Gryffindor energy for Charlotte. Katie, I would probably say, I don't know, like, again, Slytherin has a bad connotation because of the Malfoy stuff. Like, in general, it's a smart house, and I've seen all the memes since the video game came out of how crunk the Slytherin common room probably is. For Katie, weirdly, I think Katie does have some Gryffindor energy, like stands up for the stuff that she believes in, rides for her people. So I'd say Katie and Gryffindor for that as well. So that's probably where I would stand with all the houses and us here. Thank you to everyone else who sent questions in. I'll try and respond to them in the next 24 hours or so. But it's time for that portion of the podcast where we ask the question, do you know what time it is? And since Brandon isn't here today, I got to take up the mantle for us. And since we are now officially, I think, being pointed out by a lot of people as one of the horniest podcasts out there, this felt like the right way to go. Looking good, plenty tight. Is there room, any more room for me in those jeans? Really thick, like I like it. Tell me, is there any more room for me in those jeans? Looking tasty, really scrumptious. Tell me, is there any more room for me in those jeans? Looking good, plenty tight. Is there room, any more room for me? Got on my ride, seen you from afar, and I couldn't stop myself from looking hard. You wore these jeans, girl, you wore these jeans, and you made a thug want to cry something terrible. I had to have you for myself, baby. You don't know what those jeans do to me. Make me want to get down on one knee. You got that thunder, and it only makes me wonder how it feels to get up in those jeans. Looking good, plenty tight. Is there room, any more room for me? This, that, and the third. Really thick, like I like it. Tell me, is there any more room for me? This, that, and the third. Looking tasty, really scrumptious. Tell me, is there any more room for me? This, that, and the third. Looking good, plenty tight. Is there room? This, that, and the third. Hope that got you hot and bothered on a Friday. Nothing steamier than Genuine. I heard that in the coffee shop yesterday, and the rest was history. If I did all right while Brandon was out, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review GoJo wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating. Leave us a review, and let me know that I did okay in this one. Let's get to this. Wanted to switch gears momentarily here and get to something serious. We hadn't gotten a chance to talk about this much in the last couple of weeks, and that's my fault. I plan these shows out, and you kind of get too close to the forest for the trees, and sometimes there's just days where you're not ready to talk about the serious thing that's gone on, but here we get to. Now, this story is certainly a positive spin. Philadelphia 76ers star James Harden sent game-worn sneakers and donated to John Howe's GoFundMe page to help alleviate his medical bills. John was shot at Michigan State and paralyzed from the waist down in that tragic shooting where 3 lives were lost not long ago. Now, James Harden, there was video of him FaceTiming with John, giving him words of encouragement, all the things that he needed at that moment as he is struggling physically and mentally from that shooting back on February 15th. And commend James Harden for that, for stepping up for a guy. He was John's favorite player and I'm sure helped a lot in that moment. But thinking about that tragedy that, according to the Gun Violence Archive, it was one of 84 mass shootings to occur in the U.S. since the start of 2023. It's that empty feeling of hating that we have to highlight a good story like this that comes from something that has felt like it is becoming a part of our everyday life and has been for quite some time. And so that's the sad conflict in all of this. You know, privately, listen, I've thought a lot about Michigan State. It's a place that is somewhere I've spent a bunch of time going up there as a player, had a lot of respect for, but just in general, I know people that went there. It's a college like the one that I went to, and you realize in all the randomness of this that the sad reality is it feels like we're waiting for it to happen on the campus that any of us went to, the town that any of us are from. In the randomness of all of this, why should any of us feel safe from what's gone on? And that's a dark feeling. I don't mean to bring everyone down on a Friday, but it's why this is so difficult and has taken me a longer time than I would like to talk about it. So again, congratulations, God, I'm sorry, solo hosting brain. Certainly credit to James Harden for doing what he's done. You hope that John continues in his recovery and can have some quality of life coming off of this tragedy that we've seen happen yet again. And for everyone at the Michigan State community, I promise I've been thinking of you. Who knows what that even counts for? Who knows what that does? So many people's lives are now changed on that campus. But, you know, Tom Izzo, a lot of others have stepped up and tried to do an almost impossible thing and lead through something like that. And so thoughts and prayers, love and light, everything to that Michigan State community and what they've been going through there. No easy transition business, but we will get back to the sporting as we get to that. And this is Eric Bieniemy spoke up as he was introduced as the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator. And he addressed the comments made by LaShawn McCoy on Speak on FS1. LaShawn McCoy, who was critical, was at one time a running back for the Kansas City Chiefs and spoke what he believed was his truth about Eric Bieniemy and about his strengths and weaknesses that he pointed out as a coach and why he didn't think that he was, you know, going to end up being a head coach. And Eric Bieniemy took it in stride and said, LaShawn McCoy's a future Hall of Famer. He's entitled to his opinion. And what you learn being in my position is to block out all of the distractions because it doesn't help me. Said he's focused on the job at hand, being the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator. And we talked about having friends that are willing to speak up for you. Patrick Mahomes quote tweeting this video of Eric Bieniemy, his now former offensive coordinator, with this: there should be no questions on how great of a man / coach Bieniemy is. His leadership has a direct impact on the player and person I am today. 10 plus years learning under one of the best coaches of all time, and I cannot wait for him to continue to prove the doubters wrong. Period. So everyone can have their opinion. It's a good reminder. No locker room is a monolith. No locker room has 100% approval for any one coach, any one teammate, anything like that. So LaShawn McCoy's experience is his experience. It does not seem to be the sentiment shared by a lot of people who I've seen coming to bat for Eric Bieniemy. And Patrick Mahomes is another person at the front of that line. So I thought it was nice to see Pat step up to the plate and speak out. Pat's done a good job at very certain junctures in his NFL career of recognizing how important his voice is in this arena. Let's get to the third. Speaking of Patrick Mahomes, we're just in the Netflix era of sports. It was announced earlier this week that a Netflix series called Quarterback is set to feature Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota, and Patrick Mahomes, they wore microphones during the entire 2022 season, gave everyone behind the scenes address, and all these things to make this happen. Now, this is also Mahomes getting to the bag that the rest of these superstars we've seen across multiple sports have got to, because his company, 2PM Productions, which guy's already got his own production company, so let you know he is not new to this money. He is now true to this money. That production company is going to help produce the series. And thank God he's there, because, man, I don't know how much people would want to watch just Marcus Mariota and Kirk Cousins. No disrespect to those guys, but those seem like two quarterbacks who might have the most uninteresting off-the-field life of any of them that you could pick there. Seem like really nice guys, but doesn't seem like the content that you would show up for. Behind the scenes of almost any football team is going to work, but we've even seen limits to that with the in-season Hard Knocks that kind of a tree falls in the woods, nobody hears it. Pat Mahomes is enough to get me to check this out, certainly. See more of what goes into that Chiefs machine and makes it work, as we've got full swing out there right now. Curated behind-the-scenes content done by the people involved in these leagues, who I'm sure get some say in how they're presented and the image they want to prepare, seems like the direction we're going to continue to go, because after Formula One had such a great experience with it, everyone else is trying to figure out how to go and get there. So happy to probably check this out, see all the tasteful short sleeve button downs that Kirk Cousins wears, see how he really felt about wearing all those chains, and more shots of Patrick Mahomes crushing beers with Josh Allen on the golf course or in the Super Bowl parade. If you enjoyed our effort at the solo show today, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, review GoJo wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating, leave us a review, and also check us out on the DraftKings YouTube channel. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Go see Cocaine Bear. We'll talk to you Monday. Boom. Money in the bank.